All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Casey Sweeney, Serve Wisconsin Program Officer. Thanks for joining me here today. We are going to be running through today our newest tool, Basecamp. I have a number of items I'd like to present to you today. A lot of them will be similar to Basecamp's introduction to that they have an introduction to Basecamp class, but if you've seen that one, we'll be running through some content that's specific to us, so I hope that it will still be relevant for you. Some housekeeping items before we get started. I will be saving most of the questions that are asked throughout the webinar today towards the end. If there's something that comes up that needs clarifying at the moment, I will try to address that. But just for the sake of flow, I'll probably be infrequently checking questions, so be patient if you're not getting something answered, and I'll try to save that towards the end. This webinar is being recorded, and we're going to be posting it on Basecamp once it is all concluded. I may also be asking if we have some engaged folks, and there may be moments where you can participate in the webinar by using Basecamp yourself. So if you want to pull up Basecamp in addition to what you're seeing on your screen, you can go ahead and do that. If that's too much technology for you at one point, then stay tight and just hang along for the ride. So as you may recall, Wigio, our dear friend that was supporting our electronic community for a couple of years, rather abruptly sent a number of emails regarding their change of service and what they were going to offer. At that time, we worked with America's service commissions, along with other commissions across the U.S. to evaluate some options to basically take Wigio's place. And with your feedback and a couple of different test environments, we concluded on using Basecamp for that platform. So we're into it now. We have everything fully transitioned and we're ready to jump in. So let's go ahead and do that. On my screen here now, you're seeing the home of Basecamp. This is right when you log in. A lot of what you're going to be seeing today is from my perspective. I don't have a test environment to show you in, so if things look different, that might be why. So this is my home screen here. You see America's Service Commissions when you first come in. You can see this home, this toolbar up at the top here. If you have multiple Basecamp accounts, you could see them over here. We'll get to this toolbar a little bit later. But the most important things are down here, your teams and projects. So for the sake of Basecamp, teams and projects offer pretty much the same functionality. It's really just used as an organizational tool. Here is the Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps programs. You probably don't have all of these teams, as I mentioned, because they're not all teams you're a part of. So your Basecamp will look different on the number of teams you have there. The Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps programs is the one that we will be using. But just for the sake of showing you what projects are, I have a couple of them created here. There's not much activity on them yet, but this might give you an idea of in which ways you can use projects. The projects are sort of used for areas that might overload a particular team, so and may not be relevant to everyone. So Mayor and County Recognition Day, for example, there's a specific group of people and program directors that we're looking to share that content and build that community with, so we've created a project for that. and you could do something similarly. Maybe you create a project for quarterly reporting, or a particular service project that you're going to be doing. And that way you can invite your members, whomever those stakeholders are to that group, and collaborate on Basecamp with that. So that's a way to stay organized. So I wanted to show you how to create a new team or project. They're both the same process, really. You just click this new team plus icon. It'll ask you to name it. And for example, let's say we're going to be creating the Program Directors Association team. Great, that new team's created. We go in and it's going to ask us if we want some help setting it up, but we're going to be walking through that today, so we don't need that help. And then it looks just like Basecamp always does, and you can go through and add content. For today's webinar, though, I won't go through and fill out this sample group that I just created. Instead, we're going to run through the Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps program one, which is the one that we'll be using most often. So now I'm into the Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps programs team. And for terminology, that would have been, for terminology purposes, that would have been referred to as a Wigio group in the past. Now it's, Basecamp uses a little different. They call it a team. And here, I wanted to first show you how to add folks to this particular team, or really any team or project that you create for that matter. Up at the top you see add remove people. It'll load up this page, and you can add people from existing groups already, but if they're entirely new, you'll have to fill out their name and their email. Title and company are optional. So if you have someone, you can see who's already on this team. So if you're wondering whether someone from your program has access to this, you can just scroll down, try to find them. And then if they're not and you think they deserve it, just go ahead and add them here. Likewise, if you have someone who leaves the program, like a program staff person who's no longer there, you can go ahead and remove them. Obviously, be cautioned here. You don't want to remove anyone who should have access to this, so take heed whenever doing something of that nature. All invites that I mentioned in my introduction email when we formalized the transition from Basecamp to, or Wigio to Basecamp, that there were going to be a number of invites going out. If you have not received that invite yet, you should have by now. All of them that I had intended to send out have gone out. So if you are lacking one, you can contact me, or if you already have access and you think somebody doesn't, like I said, please add them here. So now we're going to go back. I don't have anyone to add at the moment since everyone's already here. So I'm going to go back to our team homepage, and we're going to run through these 6 main tiles here, the Campfire message board, email forwards, those 6 tiles first. So the Campfire. In contrast to Wigio, Campfire and message board on Basecamp are 2 ways in which we can communicate as a team. They're meant to be used a little bit differently and provide us some more functionality, but operate quite similarly. The Campfire is meant to be a casual place for chatting. It's ideally used for quick messages, quick questions that you have that could be addressed quickly. So for example, that could be maybe someone asking where a board meeting is taking place. I can see at the moment that Jessica's typing a message in there. Great. And I will respond. And I'm going to tag Jessica here. I will go in on how to do that. Can't type today. So now that is responded, you can see if you look closely enough that Jessica's message showed up in gray, mine showed up in blue. Any message that is blue is one that you, the sender, is putting out, and anything in gray is a general message to the group. I mentioned that I tagged Jessica. The way you can do that is by simply putting an @ symbol and then typing someone's name. So if I was doing Amy or Steve, you just type @ and then their name, and it'll show up and you can select that. When someone is tagged specifically, they get a notification of that message. Also, any message that is tagged specifically for you will show up yellow. So Jessica would be seeing my message in yellow. Also, I did not get a notification that these messages were being sent because I am looking at it currently. If I was away from it and Jessica would happen to tag me, then I would be getting a notification of that. But the fact is that I'm in this already, so Basecamp won't send us a notification because we're looking at it. So we're seeing all this casual chat taking place. This will stay there, but it's a quick use that you don't think warrants maybe a full message board post. Great. I'm going to go back to the home, and the way I can do that is by clicking the Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps link here at the top. I can also use the back feature and the back button on my web browser, but I prefer to use this. It's a little bit cleaner. Now you see in the Campfire section, all of these tiles here on our home page of the team, these tiles are giving us a live look-in preview of each of these tools. So I'm seeing the chat that just took place in Campfire here. Moving into the message board, we have a number of messages that have already been posted here. This operates very similarly to how Wigio did. I posted a welcome message. In here, I'll just edit it to show you, for example. There are a number of features in Basecamp that are quite useful. You can add images, as I did here. And when you add that image, it'll ask you if you want to add a caption. I could edit the caption here, or remove the picture entirely. You can do that by simply adding an attachment, as is common. You can add bullet points up here, link out certain things, a number of features to enhance your text and your posts in Basecamp that wasn't available in Wigio. So I'm going to actually discard my changes. I didn't really make anything there, but we're going to leave that message as is. And you can see at the bottom here, there is one applause. Jessica applauded this message. That's a way you can provide feedback to someone who's posting a message, almost similarly to like a Facebook like. And also just noting that you have seen this message potentially. I've heard of people using it as a poll feature, saying everyone who supports this, please applaud this post, that sort of thing. But it's just a way of providing feedback. Then as I scroll down, we have a number of comments. And you can see here that once again, I used the tagging feature. I tagged Kelly in that post in my response to Kelly. You can do that here. And everyone at the bottom here, you can see who is receiving notifications of anyone who's commenting on this, or when the post is being made. So if I were to comment, all of these people would be notified. You can, if you are interested in making sure when you're posting or editing a post that everyone is being notified, you just simply click the who's being notified and you can select that group of folks who you wish to be notified. If you are seeing a long thread that is not particularly applicable to you, so say they're communicating about a service day that you happen to be busy on, you can just click stop notifying me about this and it will no longer provide notifications. In just a bit though, we'll go into how to adjust your notification settings. I think that will probably be the easiest and you won't feel like you're being overburdened with notifications. A couple other things on here. At the top, we have the Add Remove Bookmark feature. I just clicked and add that. There's no other really option. I can just add or remove it. I added that, and what that means is when I go back to my home camp here at the top, I have in my bookmarks now this post welcome. So if for a particular reason there was a thread that was important to you that you wanted quick access to, you could bookmark it. These three dots are common in Basecamp. Those are sort of like the way you can access options in Basecamp. And it will give you these options to move to. That would be moving to a different group, which is not particularly useful for us at the moment. Or we could copy to a different group. Archive this if it's no longer of use, and put in the trash if it absolutely will no longer be needed. The put in the trash feature is available throughout Basecamp for a number of things. I would highly caution the use of this unless it's something that you are posting. You should not be deleting any content on Basecamp. It's pretty simple. The sharing features, if you wanted to share a particular post with someone outside of the team, you could get a public link, much like Google Drive does. That link will show you a read-only version of this post. So you will not be able, anyone you would share that public link with would not be able to comment, and they would not see any of the comments that came afterwards. So they wouldn't see the conversation between Kelly and I. Also, if you wanted to send this to someone in particular who may not have been notified, you can do that. Say there's somebody who just got added to your team and you wanted to make sure they got this message, you could choose that. Great. So now we're going to take a break from running through these tiles to show you the notifications features. So to edit a lot of your personal settings, you just go up in the right-hand corner as I did, click the avatar as it's so-called name. For some of you, those will be your initials or your picture. And you'll see that it says that my notifications are off. And it's summarizing my settings, my notification settings. If I want to change those, which I suggest everyone review, you just click change your settings, and you can go in here and look at them. So notify me about everything allows you to get a notification, which depending on your settings will be different things. This is simply determining on what you're getting notifications of, not necessarily whether you will get an email or an on-screen notification. So this is how I'm getting everything. If you choose only notify me when someone pings or mentions me, @mentions is what I had tagged Jessica in earlier, and pings are sort of personal chats. They're accessed up here. So say I had I'd like to ping Jessica and I say that's a message being delivered just to Jessica, and so that's how pings work. So she'll get a notification of that now. So for my purpose, I'm going to leave that I'm being notified about everything. I don't mind getting those notifications. And then I'm choosing how I'm getting those notifications. I personally don't like my email box being flooded, so I have unchecked this box. But I do have the option of I'm getting notifications on Basecamp on my computer when Basecamp is open, and it's showing me the number of unread items I have. So up here in the Hey, the Hey section, you can see there's a orange circle with 3 in it. That's telling me I have 3 unread notifications. So I use this a lot. It's showing me 3 items I haven't looked at yet, and those are being all put in there because I get notifications about everything. Everything includes posts to particular groups. It won't be every activity that's happening across the group, but it will be the majority of things. And then lastly, you can set when you get notifications. So there's no way theoretically to do what Wigio had previously done, where you can get a summary of the latest activity throughout the day. The way you could do that theoretically is a sort of workaround. You could set this time frame to be very short, say 1 hour, and then you would be receiving and keeping this notification checked. So that's summarizing everything that didn't happen during this time period. So let's say we're going 7 to 9 a.m. Or 8 to 9 a.m. Everything that happens outside of that range, Basecamp will summarize and put into an email. If I leave this how I had it originally, 8 to 5, I am only getting notifications in the format in which I've set it up during those time periods. So from 8 to 5 p.m. A lot of options here. If you feel like you're getting too much or not enough, feel free to play around. It's pretty simple. The tricky part is knowing what parts in Basecamp provide notifications. But as we go through, I'll show you the areas in which Basecamp's providing those notifications. I will throw another pitch to change your avatar. So the way you can do that is by clicking up at the top, the way you access your settings, and then you can get to My Profile. There's a lot of options in here, including setting up mobile devices. In here, simply you can change your avatar from initials to a profile picture. And then any other content in here, time zone, which probably won't be needed, or email address, bio, that sort of thing. One last thing on notifications, Basecamp is built to be up and used throughout your workday. So that's why it has some features of, if you can keep it running almost up in your background, if that's easy for you, that's how I've been using it, always on. Then when a notification comes, it pops up and I can decide whether to look at that at the moment or wait till later. But it's theoretically built to be used in that fashion. So let's go back into our group, our team. And we'll dive into the to-do section. There's nothing here at the moment, but say we had a particular to-do list that we were looking to use this as. At the moment we have all of our deadlines scheduled on the calendar, but this could be used for a particular item we're looking to have returned to us, or so this could be a mayor county recognition day survey. Or we'll make the list a little more general. It'll just be mayor and county recognition day. So then when we're adding our to-do items, we could say the survey. We could assign this to particular people. Maybe if it'll let me. Oh, I don't need an @ symbol, that's why. I'm just going to assign it to Kaisa and some of our Madison PDs maybe. They'll be notified about the assignment and it's going to be due on February 28th. Great, then we have some other general to-do items. Find location and evaluate service locations. Now these to-do items, they can be viewed by all. They can be moved around in location. You can drag anything around in here if you want to prioritize a list. Items that have due dates show up this little calendar feature, and they'll also show up in the calendar. And the folks that are tagged in those items will get notifications on the day before the item is due and the day of the item being due. So Basecamp also, when you're in particular areas of Basecamp, will show you those 6 main tools. So if you want to jump quick to something, which in this case I do, I want to jump to my schedule. I can do that by just clicking that. And now I see that that to-do item that I had created is shown on the calendar. So now that we're in the schedule, we'll move away from to-dos because that's about the limit of that tool. I think the to-dos will probably be more useful for smaller groups. For our purposes, we're going to be keeping most all items in the schedule area. So you can see, as I mentioned, we have even deadlines already just scheduled in here normally. And we'll go ahead and create a sample one. So let's say we're going to schedule the PD meeting. And that's going to get on the calendar. Let's say hypothetically it's happening July 20th. This is just all hypothetical. I'm just using this for the sake of example. And it's going to take place from 10 to 1. We can select who is all participating, but for our case, since everyone will be, I'm not going to go ahead and include everyone on there. I'm just going to leave that blank. I can choose to notify everyone or no one, but since it's the PD meeting, I want to notify everyone. And I might include some details about the location here in the notes. That sort of thing. And I could post this event. I'm not going to do that because this event isn't scheduled yet, but that's how you could go ahead and do that. Here's our schedule. We're going to do our best to keep this updated as much as possible. What's important on here is the subscribe feature. I can subscribe to this Basecamp calendar with iCal, Outlook, or Google using the following things. In case you wanted to have all of those events as they were being created and updated shown on a personal calendar of yours, this is how you would do it. We've also, somewhat excitingly, updated our own personal our Serve Wisconsin website. And in case you've ever seen this calendar of events in here, if you were to pull that up, this is going to be automatically updating to our Basecamp calendar. So a lot of the things that you see on this calendar will be exactly the same as on Basecamp. So good news there. But in case you want to have that on your own, that's how you do that. And if there's a particular event, if you don't want to subscribe to the whole calendar, but you say maybe AmeriCorps, this National Service Summit is particularly relevant to you and you want to add it to your Outlook, iCalendar, or Google Calendar, that's how you would do it by clicking here, something like that. So, I'm going to go back to our team homepage. We're going to dive into email forwards, another communication method tool that we're going to use in Basecamp. So here we have 5 messages that have been recorded in Basecamp. They were ones that originated as emails. So for example, this is one that was sent out on February 15th related to the reflection pieces guidance. It has the email in here stored for your reference, along with the attachment that came with it. You did not receive a notification of this being posted on to Basecamp because you already received this, or if you're a program director. So let me step back. Not everyone in Basecamp will be a program director. We will be sending relevant emails to program directors or program staff or the number of individuals that you've identified you want to be receiving those emails. They will be receiving the original email that comes from DHS Serve Wisconsin at wisconsin.gov. So rather than give you a notification of this being posted on Basecamp, we just post it here for reference sake because we think the majority of people have already received this, but it's here. And I commented on this just to let you know where you could find the document on Basecamp, because one of the nice features in Basecamp too is you have a history of changes, so you can see anything that's happening to that post. But if this document that were attached were to be updated, it would probably be best to go to this link so you could see, okay, this is the most updated version, and I'm sure I got the most updated versions. And if you're worried of whether you have the most updated version, you can click See All Versions. And you can see actually there's two versions of this document. This says it's the current version. It was updated uploaded on February 13th. And then if I were to scroll down, you can see there's a previous one that was uploaded on February 8th. So I'm going back to email forwards. I guess that essentially is all that we're expecting here, that we will be posting emails here that will be of reference to you, and then you should be, if you want to be looking back for reference purposes, you can look in there. The find feature we'll go through a little bit. We'll also search for content in here, so you don't have to be digging through a ton of emails to find the relevant content for you. And then let's dive into docs and files, which is really where the bulk of Wigio was in our program resources. We've recreated that resource library of sorts here for you. And so you'll see the most commonly used folder and where the majority of our resources are stored are in program resources. If you're looking to find something by topic, I recommend going in here. If you are looking to find something specific, I recommend you use the find, which is more of a search. So we're going to dive into program resources. These are organized alphabetically and by content. So we have items related to closeout here. Once you're in a subfolder, we're still working on an organization here, but they're in the subfolders. There's no particular organization to how the files are appearing. If you have these documents are linking to something else, you'll see a lot of those throughout Basecamp in the resources. And as I mentioned before, you can see the history of changes on a particular document, if there were any, which in this case there weren't, and if there were any other previous versions. Basecamp, I will give you a word of caution. Basecamp allows you to move around items within Basecamp for organization. So if I wanted that file there, you can just simply drag it. The way things are moved in Basecamp is just by dragging them into folders or back out. Oops, sorry there. That moved a little quickly. So I will warn you to be cautious against dragging files around too much. You may end up putting a file in somewhere you don't intend it to go. And at some point, I guess when we were first debating whether within the program resources, whether to have, as we had in the past, a program director resource sharing folder, I think I was thinking against that because I thought if program directors had items that were relevant to a particular topic that they could add it here. So if they had a really great living allowance policy, I would invite you to just upload it in this area rather than having a folder where all program directors are just putting their relevant content. So if you had a good policy to share here, for example, you would just click Upload Files, and then you'd select that one. You can link to a Google document as well. You just have to make sure that it's shareable on Google, or you can create new folders. So if you had, say, a number of policy-related items that you wanted to share regarding living allowance, you would do it there. Create like a new folder and say, test programs, living allowance, policies, or something like that. And now we are in 3 different folders here. So it's kind of helpful to keep sense of where you are in the program resources folder, or docs and files for that matter. So if I want to go back one level, you can just click on program resources, and then we're moving back. If we want to go back to docs and files at the beginning, then we do that. So really here at the beginning we have program resources, the program director handbook, and items related to funding opportunities. So I did an extensive review of things that were already on Wigio, made sure that everything was up to date, links were working. So you may not see everything exactly as it was on Wigio, but hope that it's organized better and has more up-to-date content. Now, the search feature, the find, sorry. If you click up at the top here, this find button, it'll pull up a new page asking you to search for something. And you have a few options. You can, this is asking what sort of things you're looking for. Are you looking, as I mentioned, maybe you're looking for content in just a forwarded email. You knew it came from there, so you might want to select that. But for right now, I'm going to say everything and everywhere. Everywhere refers to if you have multiple Basecamp groups. And I am actually going to look for Basecamp because I would like to share with you all a Basecamp orientation webinar hosted by Ask. So I'm going to try to find that. And this is what comes up. It only shows up hits within a title or text on a post. And here's the particular one I'm looking for. This link that links to Rachel's Basecamp host. And I'm going to go back to our group. And I'm going to post that into our welcome. And now that recording is available. Add that comment, and now folks can find that. So if you had, once again, just defined, if you, it's only titles. It won't find folder titles. So if you were looking for closeout, I provided this example before, it shows 4 hits of closeout items that have closeout in the title, but it does not show the closeout folder. So if you were looking for that in particular, you would have to go into our docs and files, program resources, and get into the closeout folder, which happens to have more than 4 resources related to closeout. For example, there's a whole records retention folder, subfolder. Great. And then lastly, I wanted to show you a couple of things, two more items. Latest activity. And this is where you can see a summary of what's happening across all of your groups. I clicked this at the top, and this is really helpful just to see what's happened maybe while you're away from Basecamp. This should take the place of Wigio's emails because you can simply just run through here. On mine, you're seeing that there's activity happening across multiple groups. So the activity in Serve Wisconsin AmeriCorps programs is over here on the left, and then there's some that's happening where I created the Program Directors Association, and then on downward. There's also another way you can access latest activity related to just that program, or that team rather. If you're in that team's main page, if you scroll down to the bottom, you're seeing all the latest activity. So everything that's happened in a timeline fashion. So maybe you know that there's a post about Jessica that happened last Friday, and rather than finding it, you can just click on it in the latest activity and it'll pull you there. Then some other, just some other helpful resources from Basecamp. If you have questions at the end of this webinar, after I go through those, I recommend using the Help tab on the left-hand side there. That'll pull up a new tab where you can find a number of things that Basecamp offers as resources. They have both help guides on particular tasks. So if you're looking to learn more about Campfire or documents and files, I would use those. Learning Center has like a series of videos on more general topics that are helpful to view. And then there's 2 different ways you can get a hold of them. The Basecamp support staff, they've been really, really responsive. I've actually contacted them on Twitter and using this web form here. If you have like a longer question to ask them, they've responded within a matter of an hour and will be great resources for you if you have further questions. And then lastly, up on this Learn area, Basecamp periodically has a number of classes that they offer, and I highly recommend checking out this Intro to Basecamp one. You can see there's only one on the schedule, but periodically they're updating one. One just happened this morning, actually. So I would recommend registering and viewing one of those as well. They're only 30 minutes long. So pause for a moment and take a peek at any questions we have. If you have any questions, I'll remind you that you can simply ask those in the chat box. I'm not seeing any at the moment. I'll go ahead and pause and allow anyone to type those in if they have them. Alrighty. Looks like we are free of questions for today. Thanks for participating in our Campfire and being test subjects. I'll go ahead and remove some of the content that we created here today and make it spiffy as it was before. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me as well if they relate to our particular group. We hope that Basecamp treats you as well as Wigio did, and that we can get a flourishing community. So please use it frequently and for a lot of your things. And don't hesitate to create teams or projects of your own. There's no limit to the numbers that you can create. And we cannot, only the people who are invited to those teams can see those along with Ask Commission staff. So you are free to create those. Thanks for everybody. Have a good rest of your day and enjoy the warm weather. Thanks.